Martin, I'm going to start with you. And for those of you who don't know Martin, he's going to hate this. I think it's going to be really fun. How many of you know Muhammad Yunus, the name Muhammad Yunus? So for those of you who know Muhammad Yunus, my introduction to Martin would say he is America's Southern Baptist banker, form of a Mr. Yunus in America, and Self-Help Credit Union is really a Grameen bank for the kind of issues and financial empowerment processes that we look for in America. So Martin, I also think that you've said a couple of things that have been really, I think, telling. You've said that you believe we can measure a civilization by how well it creates opportunity for the bottom half. And you've also said that there are two legs to any kind of economic justice. One is wealth, and the other is knowledge. And so most of the conversations we've been having here start with inclusion around income. And I want to ask you why you tend to start with the conversation with wealth.
Thanks. So wealth and democracy is not a new topic. If you go back to the great jurist Louis Brandeis, he said, we can have democracy in this country, or we can have great wealth concentrated in the hands of the few, but we can't have both. So the fact that we've had this panel and we haven't really talked about the absolutely obscene disparity in wealth, and that we haven't mentioned the word racial justice or race disparities at all, means that we're really not dealing at the level that I see day to day. So my story is I grew up in an all-black neighborhood. I saw my friends killed and destroyed just because of where they were born and the color they were born in the Deep South during desegregation. I started self-help, and we started making loans to individual, single-parent African-American mothers. My banker friend said, you can't make these loans. You're going to lose your shirt. And I looked at them and I said, there's a lot of things about banking you know that I don't know, but there are a few things I know that you'll never know. I ate dinner at the table of single African-American mothers my whole childhood growing up. And they would work 2 or 3 full-time jobs in order to pay any loan back. I've now made $8 to $10 billion of loans to poor people to buy homes, start businesses, do health clinics. And I'm going to assert this, and only in Aspen can I sort of get away with this, that poor people are a better credit risk than rich people are any day of the year. In my first 11 years, I made $100 million of home loans when we were just a little startup entity to African-American single mothers. And over that 11 years, I had 0 losses, not one single loss at all. So I feel like I'm angry now that I'm having to prove for the 3rd time in my career that if you get a decent, fair loan to buy and own a home, poor people will do really good with that. They'll be great. And yet the narrative in Disneyland, Washington, D.C. is, well, we've got too much home ownership. Poor people, loans to them is what caused this problem. When 95% of the loans being made by subprime mortgage lenders were made to families that already owned their homes. They weren't new homeowners trying to take advantage of McMansions. And so what I saw, and when we see the discontent that people have, I would say that it's exactly warranted. We have 80% of the American wage workers who earn less in real dollars now than they did 25 years ago. We take 80% of all American households, and do you know what their holdings of wealth are? They own 7% of the financial wealth in the United States, all stocks, bonds, pensions included. The bottom 80%, we're not talking about just the bottom 20%, the bottom 80% feel like they can't get ahead. And when you translate this into racial terms, the most compelling, disgusting statistic about American economy in 1983 for me when we were starting was that black families and Latino families had 1/10 the wealth that white families had. Now here we are 30 years later, the median wealth in real dollars for black and Latino families has actually declined over that 30-year period while it's gone up for white families. In the last 8 years, the scourge of subprime lending and things that aren't even showing on these charts, it's after people have whatever income distribution they have, they were taken advantage of by lenders who targeted families and neighborhoods of color. And in this country, we lost 20% of all black homeowners that existed in 2007 during this period. We've had 8 million foreclosures, but it utterly devastated communities of color. And so, yes, I'm really sort of pissed off about it all. I've
I'm
been
seeing that,
doing
but I'm
this
gonna.
for a long time.